This sexy girl uses a telescope every day to spy on wealthy men. Then she takes note of their habits. When a wealthy man comes shopping at the supermarket, he immediately notices the puddles on the ground. Chris looks up, and his attention is instantly drawn to Sky, soaking wet from head to toe. She knows Chris likes red wine, so she uses the excuse of buying wine to strike up a conversation with him. Chris helps enthusiastically, and seeing Sky drenched, he can't help but glance at her repeatedly. As they leave, the rain hasn't stopped. Chris kindly offers to drive Sky home, but Sky claims her roommate is a drug addict who makes a terrifying ruckus every night. Seeing Sky hesitate at the door, Chris reverses the car and comes back. Sky naturally gets in the car. That night, they arrive at Chris's villa, while Sky warms herself by the fireplace. Chris plans to enjoy some red wine to set the mood. Unexpectedly, Sky drinks it all in one go, showing more initiative than Chris himself. When Chris mentions his work, he becomes proud. At a young age, he has achieved financial freedom, owning not just this villa, but also assets worth hundreds of millions. However, Sky already knows all this. Hearing it, she deliberately takes off her coat. Seeing Chris still pretending to be reserved, she sits right next to him. Chris feels a sudden rush of emotion and opens the wine cabinet for Sky to choose. He then directly selects the most expensive bottle. The slight tipsiness gradually takes over as their atmosphere begins to heat up. Sky plays hard to get, asking what time it is, and requests Chris to take her home. Chris wants Sky to stay. Sky smiles seductively and skillfully removes Chris's glasses. The next morning, Chris wakes to find Sky has already left. Sky returns early to her rented apartment. The roommate she mentioned is actually her lover, Lisa. Upon seeing her, Lisa immediately questions where she was last night, but Sky keeps her outside the door. Lisa keeps apologizing. Sky lies down on the bed, thinking about everything that happened last night. She is certain Chris will walk right into her trap. Sure enough, within a few days, Chris finds Sky at the bar where she works. He expects to rekindle what happened that night, but as he steps outside, he encounters a car thief. Chris warns him to leave immediately or he'll call the police, but the thief brazenly shouts at him. Angered, the thief grabs a tool and charges at him. Chris blocks Sky and suffers a broken leg, becoming disabled on the spot. Returning home from the hospital, Chris's leg is encased in a thick cast, and only Sky can care for his daily needs. He had planned to hire a professional nurse, but Sky presents an irresistible offer, claiming she is willing to give everything to take care of him. Chris agrees to let her move in, even giving Sky the villa's door code, and teaching her how to control the house via smartphone. When Sky returns to pack, she sees landlord Ronald teasing Lisa. She knows Ronald often spies on them while they bathe, but she decides not to confront him this time. Instead, she calmly packs her things, planning to leave this miserable place forever. Lisa learns Sky is moving and insists she cannot leave her. Sky outwardly comforts her softly, but inwardly resolves to eliminate all future trouble. When Chris wakes up, he sees Sky smiling gently. Her tender expression shows no hint of the murders she just committed. A few days later, Ronald secretly opens the door, only to find the room empty. He goes to the bathroom and discovers Lisa dead in the bathtub. He quickly calls the police, claiming Sky, who recently moved out, is the prime suspect. However, the police insist it was suicide and cannot find any information on Sky. At this time, Sky has already moved into Chris's house, often making purchases using his facial recognition system. Chris gradually senses something is wrong and checks her purse while she showers, just as he sees a photo of Sky with Lisa. Sky walks out of the bathroom. Chris quickly apologizes, but Sky doesn't mind. Seeing Sky drenched again, Chris falls for her once more. That day, Chris wakes to find his phone missing, and all smart devices in the house mysteriously powered off. The TV shows a news report of a death, and the victim is none other than Sky's roommate, Lisa. As Chris is shocked, Sky returns to the villa with fried chicken. Her roommate died for no reason, yet Sky seems indifferent. This unnerves Chris. He tries to test Sky with his words. Sky bites into the fried chicken with abandon, completely devoid of her previous sweetness. When Lisa's death is mentioned, Sky shows no surprise. Chris tells her to call the police immediately, but Sky says that would be foolish, because she killed Lisa. Sky speaks casually, as if it were an insignificant act. The reason she chose Lisa in the first place was to use her as a stepping stone to get close to Chris. Lisa's room gave Sky a view of everything in Chris's villa, and their encounter at the supermarket was a meticulously arranged plan. But Lisa unexpectedly discovered Sky's plan, so Sky silenced her permanently. Hearing this, Chris panics and rushes to leave and call the police, but his phone is in Sky's hands. She ties Chris to a wheelchair, forcing him to give his bank account password. Chris refuses and curses at her. Seeing his resistance, Sky picks up an electric drill.
Okay.
After the police left, Ronald, the landlord, began sorting through the belongings left in the room. He looked at the telescope Sky left behind, already calculating how to sell it for a good price, but when he squinted toward the lens, he unexpectedly saw Sky mistreating Chris. He lifted his head in horror, and a bold idea struck him. Chris was still holding on, refusing to say the password, so Sky had no choice but to take another approach. She picked up a video of his ex-wife and daughter, and shattered the last line of defense in Chris's heart. He trembled as he reported his account password, begging Sky not to harm his wife or daughter. Sky immediately transferred all his assets, and she also planned to sell every antique in the house. When the buyer arrived to inspect the goods, Chris realized he was the same man who had stolen his car. It turned out Sky had planned everything from the very beginning, and her goal was all of Chris's wealth. While Sky headed out to sell the antiques, Ronald quietly entered the villa. He smashed a window with a rock and climbed inside, but Sky instantly received a security alert. She turned back immediately. The wealthy man begged Ronald to call the police and save him, but Ronald didn't want to rescue him right away. He just wanted to seize this chance to make a fortune. After a round of bargaining, Chris reluctantly offered the painting on the wall. When Ronald learned it was worth $6 or $7 million, he finally agreed to free him, but just as he removed the tape, Sky came rushing back. Seeing Sky push the door open, Ronald fled in panic, but the door had already been locked by Sky, so he grabbed a kitchen knife to defend himself. Unexpectedly, Sky revealed the samurai blade in her hand, but Chris refused to give up this chance to survive, begging Ronald to take Sky down. Terrified, Ronald backed away again and ran upstairs. Sky calmly pulled up the surveillance feed, letting Chris watch as she hunted. She then began excitedly searching for her target. While Ronald's every move was under her watch, she quickly cornered him in the bedroom. And greedy Ronald ultimately couldn't escape Sky's deadly strike. Downstairs, Chris broke free from his restraints and escaped the villa. He jumped on a motorcycle, but screams echoed from inside the villa. He sped away in a panic, but riding too fast made him crash. Greg, passing by, hurried over to lift him up, and Chris told him about being kidnapped. Greg said he would take Chris somewhere safe right away, and after hearing a woman had kidnapped Chris, he even enthusiastically helped him call the police. Before Chris could react, Greg knocked him out with 2 punches. Only then did Chris realize Greg was Sky's accomplice. Everything had been planned by the two of them. By nightfall, Chris still hadn't recovered, listening in despair to the sounds coming from the bedroom. A few minutes later, Sky slowly walked out. She hadn't left because she discovered Chris's bank vault, which held bonds worth tens of millions, but the vault required fingerprint verification, and Chris declared he would never go to the bank with them, yet he underestimated how ruthless they were. Early the next morning, Chris's ex-wife and daughter arrived to see him. His daughter happily ran into the room, but Jamie quickly sensed something was wrong. Seeing the bloodstains on the floor, she hurriedly called her daughter back, but the next second, Sky came out holding the little girl. Jamie glared at her, demanding Sky take her to see Chris, facing such a reasonable request. Sky locked the entire family together and confiscated their phones, held tightly in Willow's embrace. Chris broke down in tears. At the same time, Greg tied the thumb to his own hand, secured it with plaster, and posed as Chris and his wife at the bank. He then used the severed thumb's fingerprint to try unlocking the vault, but the fingerprint kept failing, and the manager was about to call the police. When the verification finally succeeded, they had opened the vault successfully, only to find it held nothing of value. Staring at the scraps inside, the two were stunned. It turned out that when dividing assets, Jamie had transferred the bonds under her lawyer's advice. What was meant to be Chris's secret backup unexpectedly fooled the criminal pair instead, afraid Sky would retaliate. Chris and his family took the risk of opening the vent, letting little Willow crawl inside so she could unlock the door from the outside. By the time Sky rushed in, the girl had already opened the door. After returning, Greg handed Sky a gun, telling her to finish Chris off. He left Jamie behind to ask where the bonds went, but when they opened the room, the family was already gone. The two began searching immediately. Greg opened one door and was ambushed by Chris. Sky arrived with the gun, threatening Chris to hand over the bonds, but Greg, furious, urged her to pull the trigger. Sky had long grown tired of Greg's control, and she suddenly turned the gun toward him. Chris seized the moment, grabbed a weapon, and struck Sky with a blade. He escaped in the chaos and used the villa's layout to hide. The entire smart home system had been designed by him, so Sky's every move was visible. He used the sound of the smart locks to bait Sky into wasting her bullets. At the critical moment, Jamie rushed out and slammed Sky into the screen, but with her small frame, she stood no chance against Sky. Seeing Jamie in danger, Chris rushed in to shield her, then struck Sky's leg with the blade, finally buying them a sliver of hope. But Sky quickly pushed herself up again. While Jamie clutched her daughter tightly, the police finally arrived. Barely conscious, Sky used her last breath to reveal her real name. Ever since following her stepfather onto this path, she had never used her true identity. Only at the moment of death did she speak her real name. But Chris coldly climbed over her body. He had cared for her once, but regret came far too late. What do you think about the scene? Let me know in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe for more.